So we recently saw some information in the news that show where Navy Federal had some disparities when it came to the borrowers of home loans, the approval of home loans, whether it be 75% of whites being approved compared to less than 50% of blacks being approved. And so this is something that's rather interesting. And I wanted to really kind of talk about three things that I think we need to be aware of, and not only be aware of, but take action on. And so, number one, it's interesting that history has the crazy way of repeating itself, right? So, back in 1944, there was a GI Bill that was enacted. And this GI Bill was for our veterans. And it was social legislation that allowed non discriminatory practices based on race, right? And this GI Bill was for the purpose of education. Not only was it that, it was for home loans and things of that nature. And so, somehow, some way, the ugly demonic head of discrimination and racism was able to go in and show some disparities. And what were those disparities? 28% of whites were able to use the educational benefits compared to less than 12% of blacks. Now let's talk about the home loan piece, where the home loan piece, it was said that through this bill, there were 4.3 million loans that were done through this bill that tallied up and valued up to over 33 million. No, 33 billion in value. And so it was said that it accounted for 20+% of the boom in the real estate market. And so there are examples. There's one particular example in Mississippi where over 3,200 loans were made, right? So 3,200 loans were made through the GI Bill, which was a non-discriminatory loan through our government. And only 2 loans were made to people of color, to black people. And so, number one, it is interesting how history will repeat itself if we don't rewrite and restructure history. Number two, it is interesting also how, because Navy Federal in my circle and the circle of entrepreneurs is known for them having the ability to give access to business capital through forms of credit cards, lines of credit, things of that nature. I myself have been in the banking industry for 2 decades. And so with that being known, I know that there are different profit margins on different products that are offered. And so with the means by which we look at people offering business credit cards that have higher interest rates, which in return have higher returns to the bank, it is interesting to me how approvals are made available for those higher margin, higher profitable products compared to products like home loans. Well, what do home loans do? In most cases, home loans are going to be at a place where when someone gets a home loan, it helps their value, their net worth increase. The property is going to appreciate. And so it's interesting to me, while certain certain institutions will make loans for cars, clothes, and nothingness. But when it comes to getting you approved for a home, which is going to appreciate, there's these big disparities. Number 3, when I first got my first account when I was 16 years old, my dad sat beside me in the bank and he said, "Son, if you do this right, the bank will give you more money, will lend you more money than you ever put in the bank." And so what I took from that is, if I'm a good steward of my credit and I have good relationships, I will be able to go back and get loans for cars, houses, investment properties, my business, compared to me giving them more money. Banks simply take your money and they lend it. That's the business that it is. And so if you're in a situation where you're with a financial institution and you're putting money in that institution and they're not lending you money, move your money. And so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the 3 things that kind of jumped out to me and some of the things that I believe that we can learn from this situation with Navy Federal. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's been igniting your thoughts. And if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this also.